Thanks, Sarah, and thanks to you and Rose for organising another really great conference. It's really impressive to see so many diverse people at these events, so thanks for having us here today. So my name is Kirsty. I'm one of the co-founders of the Critical Minerals Association alongside Jeff, and we set up the Critical Minerals Association just over a year ago after meeting in public affairs and noticing that critical minerals were missing from a lot of UK government publications. So before meeting Jeff, I worked in fundraising, focusing on high net worth individuals, and also had the opportunity to spend some time doing some CSR work on a mine, which was a really great experience for someone without background in earth science or engineering. I'll hand over to Jeff to introduce himself.
Hi there. So I'm Jeff Townsend. My background is in politics, a number of different roles there, whether it's an advisor or spin doctor, multiple shady things. And I was doing communications where I met Kirsty, born on a mine in South Africa, and we recognized that the 10-point plan, or the industrial strategy as it was, lacked some the supply chain to deliver it. So we felt that if we brought the industry together, we'd be on to a winner.
Okay, so the Critical Minerals Association was established with responsible mining at its core. We want to help the supply chain be as socially and environmentally responsible as possible, and we were established to work with industry and academia to generate a collective voice and an avenue for the critical minerals sector to speak to UK government. And this is because critical minerals are at the core of a number of UK government policies. However, when we started, there was little awareness of the importance of these materials in government, as Sarah mentioned earlier. Equally as important as raising awareness of critical minerals in government is improving perceptions in society. So one of our working groups, which is chaired by Lucy Crane and Ben Lepley, is looking into this. And if you haven't heard it, you can hear more about what they're up to at the presentation that they did earlier in the week. So we currently have 17 members, one of which is Satala. So it's great to have people like Sarah, Rose and Aldo on board. Diving into the specific government policies that require critical minerals, when we started in early 2020, the UK's 2017 industrial strategy was an obvious place that critical minerals should fit, but they weren't mentioned, even though 3 of the 4 grand challenges in this industrial strategy, so the future of mobility, the clean growth agenda, artificial intelligence, rely on critical minerals. And over the past year, the UK government has been making increasing green commitments, so replacing the industrial strategy with a 10-point plan for a green industrial revolution. And slowly but surely, we're seeing more government engagement and resources being dedicated to critical mineral supply chains. For example, a couple of months ago, it was really good to see that critical minerals were featuring in the integrated review on security, defence, development and foreign policy. And in addition, the Environmental Audit Select Committee has just put out a request for evidence on electric vehicles and batteries. So that's closing at the end of the month and it's public, so anyone can submit evidence to that. So we believe that ESG should be seen as an opportunity for the UK government. One of these opportunities is how our UK domestic mining industry can use ESG and demonstrate best practice globally. This image shows some of the UK domestic mining opportunities.
So on to me. So if we start looking at how the government determines what it's going to do, its industrial strategy is very much based around that 10-point plan. So we want to become a government that builds, or a country that builds wind turbines, electric vehicles, and to do that you need a critical mineral supply chain, as you can see in the middle. But influencing government policy and delivering that are external influences, so finance, ESG rules coming from finance, NGO communities. Many of you will know that the civil society is one of the largest lobby groups in the UK, but internationally as well. And then a number of different things like the legal side of things, the Bribery Act, the ITI. So that's all really important in terms of framing the discussion on ESG, but there's also external political issues. So can you use ESG at a legislative level to level the playing field, whether to promote our own companies or to almost attack other nations' companies and give ourselves a leg up? So there's issues in there that we need to address as well. Kirsty? So I think it's really important. Why do we as the CMA see our unique selling point as our ability to engage with government and influence at a government, both domestically and international level? And I think that's really important that we position ourselves there and we use what we do to try and push the understanding that when mineral extraction is done well, it is one of the key drivers to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm sure you've seen these pictures a lot over the last week. I'm hoping that you have. You know, and if you look at the ICMM graph in the bottom right, you can see that wherever mining dependent nations they are reaching predominantly, they are reaching the Sustainable Development Goals quicker. So I think that's a really important understanding that why are we doing ESG? We're doing ESG because we want to make the world a better place, but we also see that mining and mineral extraction is key to achieving that in some of the developing nations where mining is very, very important. There's many people who have been involved in this conference who are positioned well to deliver ESG thinking through finance, through NGOs at an industry level. Where we sit is our ability to engage with governments and trying to influence governments. So when they do take this on as a legislative agenda, we are able to ensure that they're taking the right decisions, not the easy decision. Kirsty? So we've done that in a number of different ways. So the first one is we provide the secretariat to the all-party parliamentary group on critical minerals. An APPG is a group of cross-party politicians in Parliament, and they look at specific issues, in this case, critical minerals. We've done a number of different events so far, but probably the most important one that we've done on ESG is, Kirsty, we did one on the tailings standards, and we were really lucky to have the Church of England and ICMM, Global Tailings Review, come and speak about the key issues and how that was built and why it's such an important step in mineral extraction kind of issues as we drive, and we see that finance is now taking its ability and its importance within the sector to actually influence the way that the industry operates. So we use the APPG as a mechanism where the politicians can ask, we're interested in ESG, we're interested in circular economy, and we can find the right people to speak and give the right kind of views on that. Kirsty? With the help of Satala, predominantly Satala, we did an excellent introduction to mining for MP researchers and civil servants. So we had 30 people attend that, and that was from extraction all the way through to the role in government and what government can play in terms of trying to change legislative positions on impacts and issues around the mining sector. And that's really important and was really successful. So over the last month and a half, I've had civil servants from Angola, Malawi, Zambia, South Africa phone me up from the DIT teams there, Department for International Trade teams there, and they were all part of that training session. So you can see the reach that this has had and the importance it has in trying to understand and facilitate that understanding of the mineral extraction sector and the role that ESG plays in ensuring that it is done properly. Kirsty? And then we get to some of the other work that we're doing. So at the moment, the UK, as you know, will play host to both the G7 at COP26. So critical minerals are taking a really central role at the G7. That could be highlighted by the fact that South Korea and Australia are both being invited to attend, even though they're not members of the G7. And also at COP26, we understand that critical minerals and the supply chains will be discussed there in quite some detail. Although discussions whether that goes virtual now or not may change that. But we wanted to use our ability to engage with MPs like Alexander Stafford, who is the vice chair of the APPG Critical Minerals. And I used to work on the same corridor as him about 10 years ago. He's terrible at corridor cricket. He's a very good man otherwise. And we use our ability to engage and to take experts from the industry into Parliament to influence that. And that's really important because the messages that go into Parliament, into Whitehall now, will be used in shaping the G7 and the COP26 throughout the year. And the big piece of work that we're doing at the moment is we're doing a very big paper, which Kirsty and Olympia, the CMA, as well as Aldo from Satala, are helping to drive. And we're calling on all of our members who have been excellent in providing evidence and information and case studies. So we're really proud of that piece of work as it's coming along, and that will play a significant role in ensuring that the message around ESG and the importance of it as we go forwards is taken into there, where at an international level there is a call now for standardized ESG rules. And that's important. Just finishing then, that's important because we're doing ESG because we want to make the world the right place, but you can do ESG easily. So things like banning all cobalt from the DRC, but I don't think that's the right way to go. I think if you go back to the role mining has in development, a country like the DRC, mining and the extraction of cobalt is an incredibly important part. So we need to make sure that when governments and international bodies take the right decisions or take decisions on ESG, they take the right decisions, not the easy decisions. And that's where we hope the CMA plays a significant role. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much, Jeff and Kirsty. Absolutely brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Jeff and Kirsty and the CMA. Brilliant. So just with regards to this, there are a number of questions that have come in, but the first one I'm going to call out is Jeff, you dumped yourself in it at the beginning with your British sense of sarcastic humour, where you said that you were spin doctoring on multiple shady areas. Do you want to just clarify that for our global audience and tell them that is not what you're doing?
Not what I'm doing now, no. Look, I wasn't smart enough to go into mining, so I went into politics, is the basis of it. And I had a number of different roles, whether it's in South Africa or Washington, DC or the UK, predominantly as an advisor on foreign affairs and international development. And I was also a chief of staff to an MP or a minister. And then I turned from gamekeeper into poacher and became a lobbyist for a few years. It pays better. But then with a background in mining and being born on a mine in South Africa and growing up in mining communities, I think it's really important that as the world transitions from petroleum through to critical minerals and renewable energy, that actually there is a voice in those political corridors that understands and is able to influence and ensure that decision makers are making the right decisions and making informed decisions, not easy decisions.
Thanks for that, Jeff. In terms of, I mean, obviously the CMA is very new, and it's great to see every month there are new members joining it and really clubbing together to use that avenue to work with the British government. Now, of course, this is just a UK case study, but it's not to say that you can't have similar setups elsewhere in the world. Have you seen similar organisations to CMA interacting with other governments? Yes,
well, so the CMA actually is constantly engaged with the Australian government and the Canadian government, and we also have partner or sister associations in both of those nations as well. And there's very much a view in the UK at least that critical minerals will start to take a Five Eyes approach. Now, America is going to be a net importer, so you can park them to one side. And New Zealand is very important, but is more is directing towards China. So actually that leaves you three nations, and that's Canada, Australia, and the UK. And then the surrounding satellite nations of that would be the EU, Japan, South Korea. So I think that's really where there's going to be a real focus on trying to create international standards around ESG that work across those nations. And there's a lot of collaboration. There's a lot of associations out there doing similar work, and we're trying to make sure the message is the same across all those nations.
Brilliant. So that consistency of messaging, ideally that consistency of thought, which will, going back to Alexander Stafford's talk that he gave yesterday morning, actually ensuring that we can get that trade to flow between those different nations. Fantastic. And I think just last comment from my end, I'm so glad that that training course seems to have had such an impact. I'm looking at Rose and the rest of the team. Perhaps we need to run another one if that's what's sparked some of the discussion. And I think on behalf of Responsible Raw Materials, we'd be more than happy to do that if it helps the discussion and the knowledge. Brilliant. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the fantastic Jeff and Kirsty. Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys.